Well, welcome back to another episode of K-Men Builds. Today in this episode, we're building this mobile sound booth. No, it doesn't look like it, but it is. I needed a sound booth that would contain my digital mixer and all the equipment that goes with it. It'll allow me to keep everything connected up, wired together, so that the only thing I would have to do is run power to the unit and then run the snake out to the stage. This is a fairly lightweight design. Using materials that you would find at the local box store. Some materials you're going to find a little surprising, but I wanted something that was lightweight, but it was big enough to put everything I needed in it. As you can see, it's also bar height. Reason for that way obviously the sound guy can stand if he wants, see over the top of wherever we're at, and then he can put a bar stool down and sit down if he wants to as well. I have a shelf that folds up and down on the side over here. That's designed for the computer so that we can record or doing words or lyrics, whatever we want to do, video. That will sit on the side, keeps it from being any longer than it really needed to be. Most of this stuff is fairly lightweight, so if you're trying to build something for like on a tour where you're traveling quite a bit, this is probably not going to be heavy enough for you. We're only traveling around. My little worship band's about once a month. We'll be traveling a little bit from my house to location and back, so didn't really need this to be overly heavy duty. Just wanted something that was big enough to maintain everything I wanted in it and get it from point A to point B. So I hope you enjoy the episode. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask me. As always, I make some of this stuff up as I go along, so I'm sure a lot of y'all have ideas and options that I probably didn't look at. But I look forward to hearing what you have to say. So what I started with here is I've got I think it's 1 1/8 piece of plywood back here that I've had left over, and we're going to use this as the base. And then you can see I went to the local box store and picked up a couple of 15-inch pre-manufactured kitchen cabinets, lower sections. And what we're going to do, obviously, is we're going to put these on here, and we're going to glue them and tack them down, mainly the glue. And then once we get that done, then we're going to come back and we're going to plywood across the back, glue, tack it on. Same thing across the side. It will come up, be about probably 42 inches or so, maybe 44 to the top. So there'll be a little bit of there'll be a countertop here that comes out. And what I'm doing is I'm going to make it bar height. So it's all going to overhang probably about 6 to 8 inches off the front. So that you can put a bar stool up underneath here, and then the sound guy can sit right here. Then we're going to All right, I want to show you why I was sanding on that. So when you buy these, this little lip right here kind of overhangs a little bit on this over this back side. So what I want to do is I want to be able to glue the face plywood flush up against this whole thing. I'll glue it to the bottom, glue it to this, and then obviously to overside. So that will give me a nice strong bond all the way across and give me pretty good structure there, because obviously this particle board is not super strong. So that plywood, a 1/2-inch plywood I'm using on the outside, is going to give me the majority of my strength. so this is the base. It's an 1.125" piece of plywood I had left over from another project here. Anyway, so I've got 4-inch casters. I got 2 fixed, obviously, and then 2 swivels. And then I'm going to square them up, and then I've got some of these number 14 little 3/4 inch screws that are going to go in here. So we'll get to work. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and excuse me. We're going to go ahead and mark where these are going to sit on here. That way I can know where I'm going to put the glue. So I'm going to go ahead and glue. Once I mark it, I'm going to put the glue down where this sits, and then I will glue along the outside here. Obviously, where this overlaps down here, so I'll glue underneath this little lip here. So it'll be completely glued down to this and to this, and then I'm going to go ahead and put some nails in the side here, brad nails, and just nail it in. Obviously, the glue is what's going to hold it, not really the nails so much, but that'll get me going. All right, so I went ahead and put the back on here, and then I'm measuring where the counter is underneath here. That way I can go ahead and mark a line, so that when I put nails in there, I know at least where that edge is at. That's kind of where I want to put it. So. Next step is to go ahead and build this, the top that's going to cover this. Now it's going to come over, I'm going to overhang it to about 32 inches. Reason being is, the idea is, of course I got my bar stool sitting there, it's on this, but anyway, the idea is to be able to put a bar stool, be able to sit on a bar stool and it be high enough. Now it actually turned out a little bit taller than I really wanted. We're at 41 inches. So really probably could handle be a couple inches shorter, but I think it'll be all right. I just want to show you what I did here. I've got these cut at 30 inches, so there'll be a 2-inch overhang. This just gives me more support in the center. I already had this one kind of ripped down. It's really all I needed, but anyway, so I did go ahead and notch it, so it kind of went around that. Of course, I notched it around a little bit more than it needed to be. But that way, it was able to sit flush up against here. And then, obviously, like I said, you saw I just stuck those 4 screws in there just to hold it until the adhesive seals. So now I'll go ahead, and I don't have one solid piece to put across the top. So you saw I cut 2 of them. The full piece will overhang and will be glued and screwed down. And then the short ones at 11 inches will be back here. You really won't see it that much because it's going to be in the back and the board's going to be covering all that. So. I got the two shelves installed. Just kind of show you. I had glue running everywhere off to clean up. But anyway, so I just used a piece of that plywood, glued it on, a couple screws, both on some of them. And then you'll see I left a little gap back here. That way I can run the cables back from the hole I cut up there all the way down to the bottom. Next step in the process is going to be trying to figure out what to do with this. As you can tell, I've got this little bit of a gap here, and I can't cut this off. And I need to be able to kind of finish this off here. So what I've got here is this finished off 1x2. And the idea is going to be, I have to cut it, but obviously. So the idea is going to be that I'm going to put this, excuse me. So I'll put it right here up against this, right? And so it'll fit flush up against there. The issue you're going to see, obviously, is that little gap keeps it from being able to get flush in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this to length, and then I'm going to have to notch that whole board all the way down so that that little piece right there fits inside this board here. So it'll kind of be a little cap to cover it up. All right, I'm going ahead and I marked the depth of it, actually the width, and then this is the depth. And then what I did was I used my framing square and just put it on here and then ran the pencil across. And then I took this and got over my table saw and have set the depth for just a little bit deeper than that. Just want to make sure I got plenty of clearance. And so now we're going to go ahead and try to, I don't have it's the only saw blade I have to do this, so I'm going to have to do basically a little at a time. So just take out a little piece at a time. Obviously it's going to have a little bit of curve. I'll have to come back and clean this side up, but I should be able to slowly work all this out. All right, that's much better. You can see it's got a little bit of the wave in it. I'm not overly concerned about it. I just need to go ahead and finish off these by hand. And there you go. Obviously I got a little bit of a cut right in here, but I'm going to caulk all this stuff in and then paint it anyway, so I'll be able to fill this in. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and, because I can't really nail this, I'm probably just going to go ahead and glue it and then clamp it on. I can nail into this to hold it in place, but I can't really nail across here, so we'll just glue down this whole seam all the way down. I've gone ahead and added a little stripping here going down just to kind of give me some kind of strength here. I think I showed you that. And then I went ahead and added, obviously, trimmed all the way around that. Give it a good cabinet look. And then installed these two shelves and then did the same thing, added that, that 1x2 there. This is the same wood that's on the top, so I got a couple shelves there. Last thing that I did was I've added this strip. That's two things. I added another strip down here to kind of level this off, and this was sticking out a little farther than this on the side here, so I ended up having to, I couldn't get to it to cut it, so what I did was I nailed this on here and glued it down, and then I sanded it off with a big 7-inch circular sander, basically a buffer, and sanded it smooth all the way across. So now what I'm wanting to do is I'm trying to make a cabinet face that will sit on here and will cover all this up. What I found was that when I take this, if I make the frame out of this here, it is perfectly flush with the face of this. You'll see how it's just perfectly flush with it. I couldn't have planned it better if I tried. And trust me, I didn't. So the idea is going to be to build the frame out of this wood here, And then I'm going to go ahead and use that same plywood that's here to cover the face of it all the way across. And so basically what I want to do is I want to be able to set it up on here and then lean it up into place and then clip it on both sides somehow, probably some kind of little attachment that clips it here. And then that will hold the drawers and everything closed, and then anything that's in here, all that stuff will stay in there. And that gives me something quick and easy just to throw on there, clip it on, and rock and roll. The issue being is trying to figure out how to do the bottom down here. And so what I've got are, I think these are for leftover pieces, brackets from a drawer that I had. I've got 2 of these. And so the idea is going to be that I'm going to probably flatten these out or have to cut these off so it's flat on the bottom. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to stick it on the bottom down here so that it screws it on. And then what's going to happen is, so the framework, this thing will sit in there like that, and so the frame will sit down in there like a little pocket. And so you'll be able to pick it up and out whenever you want to take it. So these will stay on here. So the only thing I have to do is just leave a little bit of a gap so that I have enough for this plus the plywood. Give me just a little bit of room for being able to pull it in and out. And then I should be able to attach this. We'll see if this is strong enough or not. I think once I screw it on there, flatten it out, put several screws in it, it should be strong enough. Okay, so I was able to get the cover done. And so what I did, like I said, I got the framework kind of glued on. I decided to try not to nail it, try to glue it on. And then I made 2 little notches that will fit around those 2 little studs that are over there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run probably 2 more across the center here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in and on about a 12 inches from the outside. This should give me enough strength to where it doesn't get any kind of sag or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and mount those in here. So now I don't want it perfectly tight because I do need to be able to pull it out. So I'm going to give myself just a little bit of leeway. Maybe like a 1/16 of an inch, just enough to where it'll give me some slack. And there you go. I did manage to pull this out. I'm going to repair that. So now what I have, I'll show you, is I've got some clasp, some little clips that are going to go on here that turn, that'll hold both sides on, and that'll keep this on there nice and tight. So that turned out very well. Now this next part's a little more elaborate, so I'm going to try to demonstrate with some pieces here to kind of show you what I'm going to do. Now I've got the amount of distance I have here, I need about another 3 inches because the mixer that I have actually sticks up just about 1.5 inches taller than this. And I did it on purpose because I didn't really want to make something so dang tall that, you know, it just blocked kind of view if anybody was sitting down or anything. So what's going to happen is we're going to use a 2x4 stud. And then we're going to notch it out so that it sits right inside here. Okay, it sits down top of it. And then the plywood is going to go down flush inside. So what we're going to end up doing is you'll see that I've marked here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to notch this part out, you can see, and then this will sit down inside there, right? So it gives it somewhere to some way to kind of hold it on there nice and tight. Then you can see I'm also going to notch this out somewhere. I made a little bit more than that. So anyway, and then the cover is going to come in and is going to sit inside here. So it'll sit flush with the top of this. That way I can come in here and I can sand it, and then I'll be able to actually caulk and then sand this thing nice and smooth. And so you almost won't be able to tell there's 2 pieces of wood here. So it'll make it look like it's all one piece all the way across. I'll go ahead and 45 the angles here so that it's just one little point on the tips here. And then obviously, like I said, on the corner pieces here, when you get to this point here, then you're going to have to go ahead and you'll have to notch it this way, obviously, and this way, so that you've got all of this coming out, and then this stays, and then that stays right inside here. So I think by doing it this way, I'll be able to easily drop it down in there. Won't have to worry about it shifting any, and then I get the height that I need here. So we're going to go ahead and start on that. Now I know this is the exact depth of that, which is what I want. All right, so you can see, make sure you can see it. So you can see it's pretty flush. I'm probably gonna, I want to leave it a little bit more so I can sand this down and make it nice and smooth. But that's gonna work there, so we'll make the other cut. All right, as you can see, I did it again. Gotta quit saying that. I've got it cut, fits down there just right. Outside came out just about perfect. Like I said, I'm gonna sand the outside to make it nice and flush. Okay, so went ahead and got the side pieces cut. And so what I decided to do was I'm going to go ahead, and you can see I've kind of notched it out. So what I do is I decided to make it just a straight run. And then all I have to do is just make a piece of plywood that comes down, you know, to here. And then, again, I'm going to do the same thing. I got to still notch the front. I'm going to do the same thing here. This plywood's going to come in, fit flush in here, and then come all the way down somehow. I got to figure out how I'm going to do that just yet. But anyway, so the plywood will just come down and make contact with this. It's not really going to be holding it any. All the everything's going to be held by this right here. So this is basically just kind of a facade to fill in the face and everything. Okay, so the top is cut and on there. Turned out pretty decent. Obviously, like I said, I'm going to have to go ahead and I'm going to have to sand this all smooth once I get it all put together. And the idea now, I believe, is we're just going to put a piece, just nail a piece flat face to the front of this thing all the way down. And then we'll stop it, basically. I'll show you. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it all the way down to where it's flush with the bottom here. And then I'm going to stick another board on the inside, which will sit on top of here. Alright, so this is with the top off. I've actually designed this for a Behringer X32 digital mixer that I have. This framework here is just designed so that the legs for the Behringer fit in here nice and snug, keep this from sliding around. You see here I've got a bracket here, and I've got another one that bolts onto here, and those are designed for the handles on the Behringer X32. They'll go inside and you'll suck them down, and that will hold the board there. Again, this is designed for fairly light duty. I'm not going to do a lot of touring with it, so didn't require a whole lot, I hope. The other thing that you're going to see is I've mounted a shelf here. This shelf is also going to be used for, or I should say this shelf is going to be used for the computer that will be used for words or videos if we're using them. I've got a little, I'll show you how I've got a way to hold this thing up. So basically it's high enough for a chair, somebody to sit on there, and we can put the monitor on there, keyboard and a mouse, and then the computer will be inside, obviously. All right, so here you see I have my shelf that's designed to fold up on the outside. Pretty easy little setup. Obviously I've just got a little bar that holds this up with a little chalk down here, and then this can fold up. All right, so here's the finished product. You can see I've got my mixer mounted in here. What I did was, I showed you before, that's those little brackets I made to hold it down. Just a little piece of rubber in there, or actually it's a neoprene or whatever. One on each side, and then just kind of made them a little bit shorter, and then when you tighten them down, it sucks it in there, and it's extremely tight. So with the boards down here wrapping around the legs, and then this holding it down, this thing's not going to slide anywhere. My little shelf I made, I've got my, this is the audio capture card that's plugged into the board, and then this is the wireless for my electric. And then to hold it in place, all I did was I got some really thick foam pieces, shoved it in each side, and then one on the top, and you can see it's not really going anywhere, so that should be fine. And then, like I said, it gives me room to put stuff anywhere else I need. All the cabling obviously goes down the back. I've got a router for this particular board. It allows you to use a wireless router to control your monitor mixes, and so I've got a router mounted there. Should be fine with the top on here. Obviously, the power cords run over the top. That's not the way it's going to be normally. It'll run out the front. So, but so far, pretty happy with the design and the function of it. We'll probably let it go for a couple months and then come back and kind of revisit it and let you know what worked, what didn't work, that kind of thing. But there you have it. Hope you enjoyed it.